Hey guys, we're in Southern California at the IZIP headquarters and we're checking out the Zuma. I've reviewed this bike so many times. This is a 2018 model and it's the first year that they're moving to a mid-drive. So this is the Trans-X M16 GTA. Puts out up to 68 Newton meters of torque. Pretty great. 350 to 500 watts. It's pretty efficient. It's driving your chain. You're able to shift gears through those 7 speeds, Shimano Altus. That's one step up from Tourney, which is kind of entry level. So 7 speeds, gets the job done. 12 to 32 teeth on that. And then the shifter mechanism, also a little bit more basic. It's this big SIS index thumb shifter. So instead of having little triggers down here, you have to reach way up here, and that's not such a bad thing if you're wearing gloves. It's pretty easy to understand. There's the numeric readout and everything. Really relaxed, upright geometry on this. Steel handlebars, that's a little bit vibration dampening. They're swept back, they come up to you. These nice padded grips, padded saddle, a little bit oversized with these rubber bumpers. Interesting seat post diameter. I think it's like 28.9 or something. I would double check that back at ElectricBikeReview.com. The reason I'm calling it out is because this is an all aluminum rigid frame. There's no suspension fork or anything, okay? So a lot of the comfort that you get from this is based on the geometry and that adjustable angle stem, the saddle, also these bigger tires. So these are Schwalbe Fat Frank. It's right there in the name, balloon, right? 26 by 2.35, so 2.35 is a little bit fatter. 36 spokes, so it seems like this is a bit heavier duty. The spokes are also 13 gauge. I love that they're black. They blend in with the rims, the tires. These are a little bit nicer rims. They don't have the silver machine sidewalls for caliper brakes. Instead, we've got disc brakes here. So these are Tektro, mechanical, 4-finger levers, no motor inhibitors, in part because this is a pretty smart mid-drive. It doesn't sense torque. It is just a cadence sensor, but it's very quick. So there we go, Tektro Aries, 160 millimeter mechanical disc brake up front and in the rear. Quick release on both wheels. That's really nice. It's one of the benefits of having a mid motor, in addition to weight distribution. So a lot of the weight is right there in the middle of the frame. I think that's like a 9-pound motor. And then the battery pack also, it's got nice graphics on it. It's tying in pretty well, and it tips out to the side. I'm going to show that in a little bit, but I just want to comment again that a lot of the weight is right there in the center of the bike. And even though we're looking at a step-through frame right here, a lot of times I'm tempted to call them mid-step if it's not really low, but this actually does come very low, much lower than the step-over high-step frame here. Okay, so we've clearly got like a his and hers kind of theme going on. This one's silver with black and red accents. They tie through with the saddle. They've even got stickers on the rims. And then these aluminum alloy chain covers. So I really appreciate that this is not steel, because steel can get scratched up and rust a little bit. The chain ring, 38 tooth, that is steel, and it's got this steel bash guard. So that's gonna help if you have a rock strike, and it should just keep the chain on track a little bit more. We don't have a guide on the inside, but there is some other plating, and I just don't see the chain falling off of this bike quite as easily. So I feel like the drivetrain's pretty nice. There's even a clear plastic sticker so that your paint won't get nicked up if that chain bounces around. The top speed on this electric bike is 20 miles per hour. It ships in class 1, which means pedal assist only. You have to pedal to make it go. However, IZIP does have this optional trigger throttle that they sell. It's like 50 bucks at the dealer. Just buy that and they can clip it right on to the right side of the handlebars and you just press that thing down. It's really cool the way that works. I'm gonna get into the operation a little bit later. But I just wanted to call that out. Coming back to the motor, I said this is 350 watts. The battery is kind of interesting. It's 48 volts, 8.7 amp hours. So, a little bit over 400 watt hours. It's not like the highest capacity, but 48 volts is a little bit more efficient. It gives you it's a little more punchy, right? Like a little zippy off the line. And I feel like that really fits the Zuma name. And Raleigh has a very similar bike. So Raleigh and IZIP are owned by the same parent company, Excel Group. And that's called the Raleigh Retro Glide IE. Okay, so retro, kind of like, cruiser, taking you back a little bit. It comes in high step and step through. Most of the specs are the same, but instead of having an adjustable angle stem like this one, it has a quill stem that's silver. So kind of just goes up and down, but there's no adjustment. I would be extra careful with these adjustable angle stems though, because if they get loose over time, you see those teeth right there? Those can kind of start to get soft and you know, that bar, once it starts rattling, it's just gonna strip, right? So keep an eye on that. The Retro Glide is interesting. So instead of being $1,899 like the Zuma, I think it's 2,300, maybe 74. So it's a little bit more, and you're like, well, what am I getting for like, you know, 400 bucks? You're getting these beautiful paint match steel fenders. Steel though, they could rust, you know, if you scratch them up a little bit. And then it's got a rack built right in, which is really nice. Both of these bikes are designed to accept lights, 6 volts DC. There's a little wire harness down here with a connection point, and right here. And again, with the throttle, there's just a plug-in point. So it's really plug and play. They're using a CAN bus system, which means that it's easier to diagnose if you get this into a dealer. Little mini USB port right there, not micro, mini. You can also use that to charge portable electronics like your phone or maybe some speakers, or sometimes I've seen like people with Christmas lights on their cruiser bikes. Really, really cool and fun. And this bike could accept fenders. See how there's a threaded eyelet and bosses right there, and then a hole right at the top on the arch. Same thing back here. Maybe a rack or something, but I think this is actually for like a frame, kind of like a cafe lock that would go right here. We don't see them as much in America, but more threaded eyelets here. So I feel like there's lots of options, but no bottle cage bosses. And especially on the high step, I really feel like there was room right here, and you could put a folding lock or a mini pump or something, but they just didn't do it. So, you know, I complain about little things like that every once in a while. However, they did get the kickstand right. It's adjustable length, stays out of the way if you're backing the bike out of your garage. It's not gonna get pedal locked with the crank arms. 170 millimeters. Love these VP plastic. They actually say glass fiber, so maybe it's like some sort of a hybrid resin. Really big, good traction points. Nice to have something a little higher quality like that right out of the box. And then some of the cables are integrated through the frame. Doesn't that look nice? It's like clean, got the stickers, but then they protrude a little bit right there at the base of the motor. So just be careful that you don't take a rock strike and then cut those cables. And then they run along the rear portion of the frame, back here to the sensor and the mechanical disc brake. So I'm gonna go ahead and unlock the battery pack now. Got the key in there already, twist it, and then it springs back. This is an ABUS cylinder, which is a little bit nicer. The battery tips out to the side. I think this is like 6 pounds. So there we go again, the 48 volt, 8.7 amp hours for 417 watt hours. It does have a fuse. You can charge it on or off the bike, and the charger is pretty nice. It's got a metal tip, so if you step on it or something, it's not gonna break as easily. Get ready. There we go, clicks in, nice and secure. So coming back to the charger, this is a 3 amp charger. I see a lot of 2 amp and some 4 amp chargers, the really nice ones that are faster. This one weighs 2 pounds. It's a little bit bulky, but you can unplug the wall side to make it a little more compact. It's got a fan built in, and there's that metal plug that I was talking about. So, you know, 3 amp charger, it's gonna get you back out there quickly. You could take that along with you in a backpack, you know, extend your ride, or if it's a his and hers setup, you could just throw an extra battery in your backpack to extend that ride. And I really think that's cool. The range I estimated on this was 20 to 50 miles. I know that's a big range of ranges, and the reason I did that is because I actually looked at the range menu on the display panel. So let's get into it. I'm gonna boot this one up here. It's a 2-step process. You actually have to press the battery pack first. You got those 5 little LED lights. Then you come up to the control pad right here. This is TransX as well. It's Curry Electric Drive branded, but press the power button. It does a little dance. There we go. At the top, we've got 3 colors, green, yellow, or red, and that tells you how full the battery is. That's not great. It'd be nice if there was a percentage or like 10 ticks or something, but just colors? I mean, is it 30% for each color? I don't really know. What happens when you get to red? Like, how close are you to running out of the battery? That's kind of lame in my opinion. 4 steps on assist level, so we're at the highest assist level now. Kind of arrow down, and we can get all the way to 0, and see how that green light flashes? That used to be for walk mode, and you'd hold the minus button, but walk mode has been disabled now for this drive system. Instead, you've got throttle mode, so you just tip it, there we go. It works right away from standstill, which is really excellent. A lot of times with electric bikes, you have to be in, you know, some level of assist or be moving, and that is sort of the case for using the throttle as override. So let's go back up to like level 2 assist. Now the throttle doesn't work. I actually have to like get that rear wheel turning, and then, yeah, I didn't quite get it. See, I gotta get the magnet to pass that sensor. Seems like you gotta be going a couple miles per hour. So the throttle is not live by default. You have to kind of get some movement unless you're in assist level 0. And I'm gonna turn the bike off real quick from assist 0. Turn it on. And we're still in 0. So it seems to save whatever mode you were last in, which is kind of convenient. We're in miles per hour right now, but if I hold the plus and minus button for a second, it switches over to kilometers per hour, okay? And then back, you can just switch between the two. And in any of the assist levels, if you tap the power button, it gives you a range estimate. So it's like, okay, you know, 23 miles in the highest level of assist, and 75 in the lowest. And I'm gonna switch the units here again. Okay, 46. So I was actually in kilometers. So now we're in miles. It's 1.6 kilometer per mile. So if you're switching between the two, there's no real way to tell. And I was incorrect, but basically, whichever of the two range estimates is lower, that's your miles. So I think we're in miles per hour now, which is nice. So just double check, 46 miles, and that's where I got the estimate. In the highest level of assist, it says, oh, okay, well, we think we can go 14 miles. So again, I rounded up a little bit. There's a lot of interesting things with this display. You can also hold the plus and power, and it goes into this funky voltage mode where we're at 5, which is like average. But if I arrow up to 9, that's going to give me 15% zippier, like more boost off the line. It doesn't make the bike go faster. It just makes you accelerate faster. Or you can take it down to 0. And now this is like reducing it by 15%. So this is going to be more efficient and give you better range, but it's just going to feel a little bit more sluggish and gentle off the start. I'm doing all my tests in level 5. And then you hold the power button again for a second, and we're good. So that's kind of it. You know, I hope you kind of got an idea of what these bikes are like. The geometry is very similar on both of them, maybe a little bit further reach, but they're labeled as, you know, 41 centimeters, and that's the seat tube size right here. The bikes also weigh like 51.4 pounds compared to the Retro Glide with the fenders and the rack and everything. I think that's 54.9. So there's like, you know, 3 pound-ish difference to get the fenders and the rack. And, you know, I'm going to review that bike separately, but I just wanted to fill in all the details in case you're comparing the two. I think it might be a good chance to just hop on this thing and go for a ride. But before we do, I want to mention that, you know, this motor isn't quite as smart as like Bosch or Broza or the Yamaha ones. It's just a bit more basic because it only has that cadence sensor. It's a good cadence sensor. I don't know how many magnets it uses, but it's responsive, but it doesn't have shift detection. It doesn't have torque sensing. So if you're just moving, you don't have to push very hard to activate the motor. But on the other hand, it kind of just an on-off sort of feeling. I guess it ramps into the power a little bit. It's just, there's a little bit of a trade-off there, and when you're shifting gears, that's what's really going to help you to achieve those higher top speeds. You have to shift gears. You can't hit 20 miles per hour in the lowest gear. You literally have to shift. But when you're shifting, just be careful. Maybe ease off a little bit, because otherwise, you know, the power from that motor, those 68 Newton meters of torque, are going to kind of kunk, 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 you know, and bang up the chain, the sprockets a little bit. So keep that in mind. There we go. Stow the kickstand. I'm going to take this down to 0 and just do a throttle test real quick here. See how it started sort of slow? It's not super impressive. We're going like 11 miles per hour. That's because I'm in a higher gear. I'm in like the 5th gear. So if you want to have like a zippier start, you got to go down to the 1st gear. There we go. This would be the perfect gear for climbing, and it helps you start, but we're only able to reach 11 miles per hour right now. I need to switch gears like that, and now we're going to be able to go a little bit faster. 13, 15, 17. We're almost at 20, and I'm running out of runway here. So there we go. And then here's the body position again. Real upright, relaxed. responsive when I start and stop pedaling, but there is a bit of a delay. It's not instant. Okay guys, from here you can see the chain ring, 38 tooth, and the cassette back there. Remember, that's 12 to 32 teeth. You can't really see the chain super well, but hopefully you can see the side of that guard up there. I'm just getting an idea for how quickly this thing starts and stops and what it sounds like when I'm pedaling through some different gears. Again, no shift detection, so you want to be easy. And I did check, the seat post diameter is 29.8, which is kind of unique. So I think you could use shims, which are these little sort of size adapters, and you could potentially get a seat post suspension for this, because the smallest diameter is 27.2, and that would really smooth things out if you're someone with a sensitive back and neck like me. It's always nice to have options like that. We'll be in the highest level of assist, and I switched to the high step model, which doesn't have the throttle installed, so this is all pedal assist. You hear how it went quiet at the end there? That's because I passed the maximum supported speed of 20 miles per hour. So you can pedal faster if you want to. I can't say exactly what sort of RPM support this bike offers. Some of the really fancy mid-drives offer up to 120, which means you can spin very quickly. I'm guessing this is around 100, and it looks like it's a square tapered axle versus some sort of spline, something a little fancier. So again, it's a value mid-drive, but it still gets you the weight distribution and the efficiency of switching gears. Hey guys, this is my friend Danny. He works in shipping and receiving at IZIP, and he volunteered to give me kind of like a ride demo, third person. He's got his helmet on and everything. You ready to go?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
And that bike might be just at the high end in terms of step over. See how I just swing his leg over? Go for it, buddy. Looking good. Pretty stable bikes, the bigger tires and stuff. How's it feeling for you, bud?
Very good, man.
Have you ridden this one before?
Yes, I did.
He's like, of course, I have to test all the bikes. That's awesome. I'm gonna get really close to the motor here. Go for it. Just takes right off.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Thanks again, Danny.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Back to the grind. Well guys, I think that's about it. That's the new IZIP E3 Zuma. Really neat to see it with a mid-drive, and it's such a good price, under 2,000 bucks. IZIP does have a whole bunch of dealers, independent electric bike dealers across the US, but they also sell direct, and they have like a pretty good warranty and electric bicycle competency center. They've been around for a long time. It's interesting to see sort of the same thing being offered from Raleigh. They've been doing this for a couple years now. Maybe it just gives you some different color choices, and the rack and the fenders and stuff. I hope that gives you enough information to make an educated decision if you can't get into a shop and test ride this. For the full written review, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. I've done all the measurements I talked about of both frames. Otherwise, have fun out there and ride safe.